And now it's party time. It's time for a romantic King's Gambit. How much do I love this opening? Now in this game, we're actually going to have a look at it from the black side. So we're going to give some ideas how you play against the King's Gambit. And we're also going to enjoy a beautiful, stunning, spectacular King Hunt. Like the other two videos in this series, I'm going to try to make it interactive. So you can sit back and just enjoy the video. Or if you want to try to test yourself and improve your tactical skills, I'm going to ask you to pause the video at certain stages, give them the opportunity, get near that mouse, get ready to pause, so you can try to work out the solution, so you can play like Falkbeer here, so you can be transported back to the days of romantic chess. So you are, in this game, Falkbeer, born in 1829 in Hungary. You're an amazing player. You're playing this game in a nice cafe somewhere, maybe with a cup of coffee, maybe even with a cheeky glass of wine, if you're old enough, of course. And there's lots of people watching your game. Now you've got to try to play like the brilliant Falkbeer. Can you chase your opponent's king down? Can you create this masterpiece? The game started in King's Gambit fashion. F4. Oh yeah. Now in the old days of chess, transported back to 1800s, 1900s, when your opponent offered a sacrifice, it was rude not to take it. Are you a man or are you a mouse? So you had to really take the pawn, otherwise it's dishonourable, and people wouldn't speak to you for at least a week. How things have changed nowadays. So we enter into the King's Gambit. Knight to f3, now played from white, which is one of the main lines. The other main move is bishop to c4, but knight to f3 is certainly considered a main variation, and now a direct way to try refute the King's Gambit. Pawn to g5. And Bobby Fischer said this was the refutation of the King's Gambit. The simple idea is to go g4, force the knight on f3 away, and play queen to h4 check. Happy days. Pawn to harry 4, pawn to h4. And of course, we continue in aggressive fashion. With black here, I want you to play as aggressively as you possibly can. Forwards, men, g4. Now white jumped into the centre with knight to e5. Now knight to f6, developing a knight and kind of defending this pawn subtly. Now of course white can take this pawn, but I think black's idea would have been to take on g4, queen takes g4, and now counter-strike with d5, unleashing your bishop against the queen and gaining a rapid, quick development. If you want to be a tactical genius, if you want to play like the great tactical players, you have to go for quick developments, and you have to play in a fast yet effective manner. But remember, most attacks will not work unless your opponent makes a mistake or unless you have built up a very promising position first. So don't be too impatient. Now here white played knight to c3, defending e4, but it seems like a very slow plan to me, because black simply played d6. And white has to move his same piece, the knight on e5, for a third time, knight to c4. A basic opening principle is don't move the same piece more than once or twice in the opening because you lose so much time. And white has got knight to f3, knight to e5, knight to c4. He's wasted so much time moving this poor knight around. Black now continued bishop to e7. With the idea at some point of striking against the pawn on h4. White plays d4. So now, your first little think here. You are black. White has gained quite a big centre. But what is black's idea here? What should you play with black to try to continue the attack here? Think about black's last move. Pause the video now if you need to. Well, the correct move, of course, is knight to h5. This does two things. Number one, the bishop is now getting ready to strike on h4. Oh yeah! And also, look at this juicy square on g3. When you're trying to attack, when you're trying to play positionally, always look at open squares, outposts. And this is now begging for a knight to come into that square. White tries to develop with bishop e2, but of course, we strike on h4. Bishop takes h4 check. Now the white king can't really go to f1 because there's a big check on g3. So it has to start running into the center of the board. King to d2. Okay, What should you do next here with black? Think about your options. Think about aggressive play. A little tip, you're playing this game aggressively, attack, attack, attack. Try to keep creating threats against the white king, which is running around the board. We have built up a nice position already. Remember my golden rule from the last video? First of all, if you should look for an immediate win, an immediate check or capture that does a devastating goal. If there is no immediate check or capture, bring in the reinforcements. Come on, boys, get into the game. So pause the video now and have a think what you should play. Queen to g5, bringing her magistrate into the queen. Into the game even. You know what I mean. And the queen here comes into the attack with ideas of f3 check. So again, the white king has to move. King to d3. So what should we play here? Think of developing moves, bring a piece into the game, because there's no immediate strike here. So you need to bring your pieces into the attack. What should you play? Pause if you need to. Knight to c6. Of course, we develop another piece, bringing in the reinforcements. There was no immediate kill. But with this move, we create ideas of knight to b4 check, which would be devastating, because then the white king would have to go back and we'd have f3. For example, something like rook to f1, knight b4 check, king has to go to d2, and now f3 check. Look how strong that move is. That's why we brought our queen to g5. So white thought, oh, I don't like the look of that. So he played pawn to a3. And in actual fact here, Falkbeer made a little bit of a mistake. Now, another thing you should do when you're attacking, you bring in your reinforcements. If you have no immediate kills, so always check for the immediate checks and captures, you should look at ways to open up your opponent's king if it is in a weak position. This is how you learn to attack. All these different factors I'm telling you, you have to throw into one game, combine them in the right manner, and then you could become an attacking genius. Like Mr. Falkbeer. Think what you'd play here. Pause the video if you need to. Well, the best move here would be to try to break down this mini fortress that the white king has in front of it. So the move f5, to me, looks like a brilliant move. Trying to take on e4 and bring your last piece, reinforcements, to f5 with an attack. Now, this would have been good, but in actual fact, black played differently in the game with bishop to f2, attacking d4. White now tries to create counterplay, knight to d5. This doesn't bother the old romantic player, Mr. Falkbeer. Remember, you're sitting in this cafe. You now have a bigger crowd watching your game. They're all going, talking to each other. Oh, wow, look at this game. This is exciting. You're getting quite excited yourself. Are you going to defend? Are you going to defend c7 and play passively? No, 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 no. We want to play fast, aggressive chess. So when you're attacking again, when you start going backwards, when you start playing negative defensive moves, things can go wrong. Try to keep the initiative going. This is a key attacking point. So bishop takes d4, removing one of the defenders of the white king. We do not care about our rook on a8 because checkmate is key. White, of course, took on c7, so we have to move our king. Now here white made a very big mistake. He should really grab this rook on d8, for better or worse. A little tip here, if your position is bad anyway, you might as well grab as much material as you can and keep your fingers crossed, do a little prayer to your god, hope you don't get checkmated, because then you're going to win the ending. In dire situations, take bigger risks. So if you're in trouble anyway, just grab the material and try to survive until the ending. At least this way, white has grabbed the rook. Okay, things are very dangerous here after a move like d5. Opening up the position more. Probably losing for white, but, at least you're going to go down in flames with an extra rook. Better than fading away rather miserably. Go down in flames. Much more fun. So instead, white decided, oh, I'm a bit scared now, and he moved his knight back to d5. So what is a key move here? Remember, if there's no immediate win, so always look for checks and captures, bring in the reinforcements and try to open up your opponent's king more. What should you play? Pause the video now. Well, of course, the best move is this f5 move. Trying to open up the white king. There's only one more pawn, one more bodyguard guarding that king. and we are trying to take on e4, something like, let's say, rook to f1, taking on e4, and if the king takes, well, bishop to f5 would be checkmate. So this is our idea. So after the move f5, white desperately now tried knight takes d6. Of course, we took on e4 with check. This leaves white in a very tricky situation. If knight takes e4, queen takes d5. We have a very, well, completely winning position. So what else can white do? Well, king takes e4 looks absolutely suicidal. This is, this is just a crazily bad move. Maybe even queen g6 here, check, with checkmate next move. So that means that white is actually forced here to play king to c4. And now over to you guys. If you saw my last video, hopefully you'll be learning how to calculate in this extremely complex situations. I'm going to ask you soon, but not now, to pause the video. Some little tips now. The white king is clearly running scared. Try to think of moves that can force an attack. Try to calculate as far as you can. If you can't do that, a way to, first of all, learn how to calculate, see how many checks you can get in a row. Calculate as many checks in a row as you can. And then, if it leads to checkmate, fine. If it doesn't lead to checkmate, start from the original position again and look at any other moves from this position. So just keep looking at lines, but do it in a very systematic way. Don't jump from one area of analysis to another. Analyze one variation, get really involved with that, then move to another variation. So this will take you some time. Please use the times wisely, or you could just sit back and listen to my voice if you want to. Maybe that's not so relaxing, but you know, what can we do? Try to find the win now and pause the video. Well, the way to win this position, let's remember that the white king is maybe threatening in some positions to run back to b1, is to now do a beautiful king hunt. Queen takes d5 check. Oh yeah. And now white has to take this king. Again, try to find as many checks as you can in this position. Every move all the way to checkmate is a check here. So if you can really calculate well, you should be able to work it all the way to checkmate. Yes, this is hard. Yes, this is about an 8-move checkmate, but this is great training for you. So again, pause the video if you need to, or just try to find as many checks as you can. Well, knight to e6 is another check. The king has to go to c4. Bishop to e6, third check. The king has to go to b5. a6, another check. And white only has one move here. Every move, only one move. King to a4. So it should make your calculation more easy. What is the next check? Of course, b5 check. White has to take this pawn, otherwise it's checkmate. There's nowhere the white king can move to. Knight takes b5. Pawn takes b5, opening our rook up. King takes b5. And now we come to another critical moment. The white king is running around naked in the middle of the board, and we never want to see anyone running around naked. Imagine that in a tournament hall. Would not be a good sight to see. Black to play into checkmate here. So it's checkmate in 3 moves. There's a couple of options here, so try to make sure you get it right. You can easily get confused here. This is a way to use that process of elimination. Start with one line. If it doesn't lead to checkmate, look at another line. Keep doing this. Keep repeating. You will eventually find checkmate. Yes, it might be a little bit laborious, but this will help your tactics in a game of chess. Pause the video now. Well, the correct way to checkmate here is rook to a5 check. Now, if you tried rook to b8 check, I'm not sure what you're going to do if the white king tries to run away. It's not clear here how you're checkmating. If the white king took on c6, yes, rook b6 would be checkmate. So you had the right idea, but you didn't calculate further enough. You didn't use this process of elimination. You should eliminate king takes c6, but did you look at king to a4? Probably not. But with rook to a5 check, white has to go forwards. King takes c6, and now it's checkmate in 2 moves. If you're struggling, pause again. The correct way is bishop d5 check, forcing the white king to d6, checkmate in 1 move. I'm not even going to tell you the finishing move. I'm going to leave that to you guys to work out. It's a beautiful checkmate. And actually, one of the hardest moves to find in a game of chess is this, I'll give you a clue, backwards move. So what can we learn from that game? Okay, it was a romantic game, and it was a brilliant game. But again, this shows you the energy you need when you're attacking. And it shows you this rule, if we go back to some key moments, that if you have not got an immediate breakthrough in a position, you need to bring in reinforcements. Like here, the white king is starting to run, so your danger bell, your alarm bell should start be ringing. You should be thinking, right, his king is in the open. How can I get to the king? No immediate kill. What do? You bring in reinforcements. Queen to g5. And again, bring in reinforcements. And then the next thing you need to do is open up the king with this f5 move at some stage. And then, of course, look for all the checks, look for all the captures, and calculate using the process of elimination. But remember, when you're attacking, you can only attack when there are certain features in the position. Your opponent, for example, has an open king. You, for example, have good pieces, more development, a good structure, a good basis to attack. Concentrate on these things, improve your calculation, and you can only become a better player. Well, I hope you enjoyed that video. I'm kind of experimenting here a little bit with this pause the video kind of thing. I don't know if it's a good idea. I don't know if it's a bad idea. So please leave your comments. I don't always have time to review the comments, I'm afraid, but I do sometimes look at them, and I do really value your feedback. So, thank you very much for any feedback. But if you like it, tell me. If you think it's rubbish, look, I can take that as well. But just let me know in future, then I can decide the best way to try to tell you, to give you advice, to try to help you improve as a player. But all in all, hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much. 2 more videos in this series to come.